Hello, rockhounds, rock nerds, rock lovers, lapidarists, people of all sorts. Welcome back to my channel. Mike here, and today it's time to do some rock cutting. I came back with a lot of rocks from the west on my month-and-a-half trip out there, and I'll tell you a little bit about it and what I've got here. And we're going to cut some of these rocks. I don't know if we'll get to all of them today. Probably not, because the saw is so slow, and some of these rocks are really big, like this big honking 30-pound boulder over here. And I'm not even sure this will fit in the saw. But I want to show you why I want to cut some of these rocks. These rocks are really, really pretty. I'll show you in a second. I'll wet them down. But you know what? I spent a month and a half out west. I've got rocks in Arizona. I got rocks in Wyoming. I got rocks in Nebraska. I got rocks in South Dakota. So I came back with probably a couple 100 pounds of rocks that I collected. And you know, we spent a whole day doing nothing but visiting rock and fossil shops in South Dakota one day. I call it our South Dakota Rock and Fossil Shop Crawl. I'll put a link to that in the upper right, that video, if you want to check that out. It was a blast. Everybody had a great time, and everybody bought some good stuff in those South Dakota rock shops, including me. I came back with a bunch of stuff from those South Dakota rock shops, but you know what? I will get around to cutting those in another video. In this video, I'm most interested in cutting into the rocks I collected myself. Let me wet them down and show you what I got here. Some of this stuff is really neat, really pretty, just absolutely gorgeous stuff. The colors are amazing. They're probably not coming through on the video all that well because the lighting out here is not as good as it could be, but oh yeah, we got some good stuff here, and I'll explain what we've got here, okay? We'll start over here. Got a lot of petrified wood over here that I collected at the Dobell Ranch in Arizona. Okay, Arizona rainbow petrified wood, just like you get from the Petrified Forest National Park, where it's illegal to collect, but the Dobell Ranch is just outside of the national park. It's on private property, and those folks will let you come in and collect petrified wood on their property. Well, for a price, of course, but you know what? I left there with about 80 pounds of super high-grade petrified wood that I collected on their ranch for about 60 bucks, okay? So that is less than $1 a pound, and wood of this grade is selling for $5, $6, $7 a pound in your average rock shop along the highway. So that was a deal. So I'll put a link to the Dobell Ranch visit in the upper right if you want to check that out. I had a grand old time there. I think you have a grand old time there too if you go, and you'll come away with some really high quality petrified wood, cheap, dirt cheap. And not only can you collect what they've already dug out of the ground and is laying around, they must have 10 million rocks laying around you can choose from. You can get in the hole and you can dig yourself and find your own rocks there, and that is just an amazing blast. You'll have a grand old time doing that, let me tell you. So there's petrified wood from the Dobell Ranch. Now next we've got a big boulder of banded iron formation, or BIF. And this is probably the ugliest piece of banded iron I brought back. I have a whole bucket full over here of really beautiful specimens. Okay, some of them I don't even want to cut, they're so pretty on the outside. This was ugly on the outside, but I'll bet it's pretty on the inside. So I'm going to try cutting into it, and we'll see what it's hiding on the inside underneath this ugly crust. I'll bet it's prettier on the inside than it looks from the outside. So this is a fairly big chunk. Again, I have a series of videos. These rocks I found in Wyoming. And I found out this banded iron on my second day out there. I'll put a link to the second day banded iron find in the upper right if you want to check that out. Okay? And these are some other rocks I found in Wyoming. On my first day out there, I may have found this on the second. I don't really remember. Actually, I think they did find this on the first day. And this big honking boulder. Now, these are all some kind of jasper. Different kinds, obviously. Let me bloom in a little bit so you can kind of see the colors. Look at that colors in that thing. That's crazy. I mean, and it's like a big 30-pound boulder. So I found a little piece, too. And the colors in it are pretty amazing. It looks like it could have been a chip off of this thing. So I'm not going to bother cutting this little one. I want to cut into this big one and see what it looks like on the inside. Because if it's anywhere near as colorful on the inside on a cut slice as what I'm seeing on the outside, it's going to be gorgeous, especially once it's polished, okay? Only possible problem is I don't know if this will fit in the saw. This is probably a 30-pound boulder right here that I found. And, you know, it may or may not fit in the saw. We'll see. We'll see. And then over here, well, I talked about that one, but this one, you know, when I got out of the collecting area and stepped out of the truck, I literally put my foot down on this piece of jasper on the ground when I got out of the truck, and I picked it up and I looked at it and said, "Oh, kind of interesting." But it's got some red, some orange, some tan colors there to it. I'm kind of wondering what it's going to look like on the inside if I cut it. So I think to warm up the saw, I think I'm going to start with this rock and just cut it. So anyway, yeah, these three rocks right here I found on my first day rock hounding in Wyoming. So I'll put a link to that video in the upper right, and you can check them out. I'll probably put links to all these videos in the description of this video too. So, you know, if you want to watch this one all the way through and then go check out those others, you can if you like. I had a blast rock hounding everywhere I went. Wyoming, I love it. I absolutely love Wyoming for rock hounding. There's great rocks everywhere, and there's nobody around to pick them up. Wyoming is empty, okay? There's more people living in the county here in Florida where I live than live in the entire state of Wyoming. They have one area code in Wyoming for the whole state. Tells you how empty it is, okay? So, great rock hounding in Wyoming. I love it. Had a grand time out there for a couple of days. Had a good time at the Dobell Ranch, so check those videos out. Anyway, we're gonna come over to the saw, and I think we'll start, like I said, with this one. So here's our Lordstown Lapidary saw. Right now it has a 16-inch blade in it, so it's a fairly big blade. I know some people name their saws, and well, we don't have a name for this one. I'm thinking about it though. I might call it Lazarus because I've had to bring it back from the dead a couple of times. When we first got it used, it was a horrible wreck, and I had to pretty much rebuild it to get it working. After my stepson used it for a few years, kind of without supervision, it was a horrible wreck again, and I had to totally rebuild it. So I think maybe Lazarus might be a good name for this saw. I don't know. And it's still got some blood red goop in it from the last time I cut banded iron in it. I'll tell you what, you cut banded iron in the saw, it looks like you've been slaughtering beef out here because it's just blood red goo everywhere. But there's still got a fair amount of mineral oil in there, and I got a couple more gallons of mineral oil. I can top it off if I need to, so I think we are good to go. I just got to get this rock in here, and I don't quite know how I want to cut it. I want to cut it this way, or do I want to cut it this way? I don't know. I think I'll try cutting it on its long axis and see what it looks like. Let's give that a try. You never know until you cut into something whether it's, you know, any good, worth the effort or not. Or, you know, you think, I should have cut it the other way. But, you know, we'll just try it along the long axis and see how that does. Yeah, that'll work. So let me get this locked in here good and tight. And the more I look at this, the less I think that big boulder's going to fit in. But we'll give it a try later and see. Maybe I can get it in enough to cut a corner of it off. We'll see. It's tight so it doesn't move around. Popping out partway through the cut. So the way this saw works is this blade's going to spin insanely fast over here. It's sitting in a pool of mineral oil, and as it spins, it's going to fling mineral oil up on itself and on the rock. This carriage is going to move very slowly into the blade and cut the rock. This is diamond diamond tipped blade, so it's going to cut this rock without any trouble. And then when I hear that the cut is done, I'll come over and shut the saw off. But I also have a backup here. This chain, when the carriage gets over here so far, will go taut and it will pull the switch off. So I've got a backup there. I'm sure this saw originally came with that, but at one point in the past it got lost. So in one of my rebuilds of the saw, I put that back on. Tighten everything down. Okay. So we've got to close this up before we start it up, or there will be mineral oil flying literally everywhere, up onto the ceiling, onto me, onto the camera. We don't want that. Here we go. And we'll just wait and see what we get. This will take about, I don't know, 15-20 minutes probably. We'll know when the cutting starts by the sound. We'll also know when the cutting stops by the lack of sound. Yeah, you hear that? Now we're cutting. Yep. It'll be through it in a little while. Okay, I just heard a thud and it got quiet, so I think we've cut a piece off. So let me shut the saw down. We'll wait for it to spin down and give it a few seconds for the worst of the mineral spirits mist in there to dissipate, and then we'll open it up and take a look and see what we got. Okay. Yeah. Blood red liquid running all over the place. Huh. That's kind of interesting. Kind of cool. Clean it off a little bit. Yeah. Kind of neat. Let me pull the other piece out and we'll take a look at the other half. See what we got here. Not as pretty as I was hoping, but hey, you never know until you cut it open, right? We'll take a close-up look at it up on the bench under the lights. Well, it's got an interesting pattern to it. I mean, like I say, it's not as pretty on the inside as I was hoping, but hey, I wouldn't call it an ugly rock by any stretch of the imagination. And at least now I know what it looks like on the inside, because that's been bugging me ever since I picked it up out in Wyoming. What it was going to look like once I cut it. Alright, so now I need to choose another victim off of this table and cut it. What do I want to cut next? Yeah, I want to save that. Let me try cutting this thing. I really want to know if it's prettier on the inside than it is on the outside. I really do. Because most of the banded iron I collected was really beautiful. So let me get this in the saw and we'll see what we got. So I need to give some thought to how I want to cut this one. This is a big rock, and if it is as pretty on the inside as I'm hoping, I might like to make something like bookends out of it. So I'm thinking, you know, cut it this way, and I'd have two pretty much equal halves that could be bookends. But it needs a flat base to sit on if it's going to be bookends, so I think the first cut I make will be across the bottom to try and give it a flat base. I think that would probably be the best idea. So if I can get a cut perpendicular to this way, that would be ideal. Let me see if I can get it in here. Pretty big rock. Not as big as that big monster honker over there, but still pretty big. Basically, if I can't get this in, I know I'm not going to get the monster in. I think this is going to go with some room to spare. fix this lid. Time for another rebuild here. Here, that solves that problem. Fodder for the blooper reel. Okay, let's see here. Get this in the way I want it and get a nice flat cut, basically parallel to the bands. This is going to be parallel to the bands, so this is not going to be especially pretty probably, I'm thinking, but this will give it a flat base. So if it really is pretty on the inside, the next cut should reveal that. Good and tight here. For all the years we've had this saw, I don't know why the nuts are different sizes. That's one thing I haven't got around to fixing yet. Sooner or later. Sooner or later. Okay, so is that about the amount of cut I want to take? Yeah, that's about the amount of cut I want to take. That's good and tight. Okay, so let's start it up. Okay, I need to make a list of what needs fixed on this thing, and that lid is on the top of the list. Alright, so this is probably going to take half hour or more to cut because that's a big rock. So let's get it started. Contact! Well, once again there was a thud and things got quiet, so let's see what we've got in here. Well, yeah, we've cut a piece off the bottom, for sure. Let's see here. And yes, it's very red. Sanded iron will do that. Ooh. Kind of an interesting pattern. I don't know if that's showing up. Yeah. This might be the darker banded iron. It comes in, you know, a lot of different shades, and sometimes it's just, you know, variations on black and dark gray and whatnot. Maybe that's what we've got here. I don't know. Let me pull this piece out. Look, looks like we lost another little piece too. Came off. Well, there is some yellow jasper in there, a little bit of it. So, my cutting plan now is to cut it this way and see what it'll look like when I cut through it like this. See what the faces look like. I might have to take cuts off of both sides here if I want to make like pretty bookends out of it, but at the very least, it's got to have a cut through here. Let me see if I can get it back in and get it cutting again. I just about ran out of travel on the carriage with this cut too. So let me get this as far over as I can. This is about halfway here. Do right about through the middle of it this way, if I can. Don't twist, just stay there. Not thrilled with the vise in this thing. Modern machines have much nicer vices in them. This thing's probably 50, 60 years old, I would imagine. Through several owners and a lot of rebuilds. Actually needs to come over this way a little bit more. get it like in half, which is what I want to do. There we are. Now if it'll just stay there without moving, that's the difficult part. The base flat down. Tighten it up good. Yeah, this vise really terrible for this. It should be more horizontal and clamped like this instead of like that. So, is that going to stay there? Get it as tight as I can. As soon as I hear the big chunk fall off, I'm going to have to stop the blade so it doesn't like eat into the side of it or something. Pretty good. Okay, that looks like that's going to cut it about in half. Tighten that down good. All right. Whew. All right. So let's start it up and get another cut. And we'll take a close-up look at this piece while that's cutting. All right, that's just starting to cut. So I don't know how well that dark banding is showing up. This piece here broke off of it. There are some areas of yellow jasper in it. There's an area here and here. So, and a little bit of it through here. So hopefully we cut it down the middle. It'll be really pretty inside. We'll see. Okay, I heard a loud thud and turned it off. So let's see what we got here. Ah, I was afraid of that because it still sounded like it was cutting. So it looks like it broke along a fissure there. So that's got some more cutting to go. If I like it, I suppose I can always epoxy this piece back in and polish the faces. Let me clean that up and have a look at it. See if it's worth the effort, because I'm starting to wonder. I don't know. Huh. Well, there's not as much multicolored stuff in here as I was hoping. It's basically blacks and grays and shiny and dull. But we'll look at this piece on the bench while we finish cutting the piece sticking out here. Alright? Yeah, it's a lot plainer on the inside than I was hoping. It's actually more colorful on the outside than on the inside. I was hoping the inside would be more colorful than the outside. So, I don't know. I mean, this might still be very pretty polished up. Let's see here if the water will just want to bead on it. But you can kind of get an idea of what it'll look like polished. But not nearly as pretty as I was thinking. So I don't think I'm going to put the effort into this to finish making bookends out of it. I mean, that would be like one half. The other half would be over here. Books would stack in between. I might have to cut off at least one face to expose the insides and polish that. But again, I'm not sure it's worth the effort now. I don't know. I've got much prettier banded iron that I can make into bookends, like this big honker here. I mean, you can see how pretty the bands on this stuff is. You know, even without cutting it open, you can see how pretty this is. So, yeah, maybe I'll just cut my losses on this stuff, and we'll finish cutting what's in the saw, and we'll take a look at it, and then we'll move on to something else. Yeah, here's the other half. And here's the pieces that came out. I could, if I really did want to finish this, I could epoxy these in before I polished it. But kind of that was my idea right there, to make bookends. No. So I was probably going to have to cut, I would think more like maybe this face over here to expose the nice internal banding. Maybe or maybe not. I don't know. It's kind of, I think the outside looking better than the inside at this point. So I don't know. I don't know if I want to put any more effort into this or not. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. Do you think this would be worth turning into finally a set of bookends, you know? Putting a little more effort into them. Do you like this kind of really dark banded iron with the subtle differences in the bands? Or do you like the really dramatic stuff? Yeah, leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. I mean, I could make bookends out of them, I suppose, just like that, with a minimum of extra effort. So, yeah, let me know what you think. But I think for today, I'm going to set this aside, and we'll see about cutting something else. Just got to decide what. Wow, after cutting banded iron in here, it's looking like a real horror show inside the saw. Look at that. You'd think I'd been slaughtering people in here. Wow. Yeah, that happens to the oil every time you cut banded iron in it, because the iron is basically in the form of iron oxide or rust. And although it may be dark black or gray or yellow or orange on the stone, once you turn it into a finely divided powder with the saw, it always comes out red. Very red, very blood red. Okay, let me figure out what I want to cut next and we'll get it in there. What to cut next? What to cut next? Well, I've been slightly disappointed with what I've done so far. But, you know, these were, I was just hoping that they would be good looking on the inside. I didn't know for sure. And, you know, the more I look at this, actually, the more I like it. You know, maybe I will complete a set of bookends out of it. Again, leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. But I think for our next cut, it should be something that we are reasonably certain will be good looking on the inside. So I'm thinking I'm going to go for some of this petrified wood over here. Which piece do I want to cut? Oh, you know, that's got some nice color to it. Let me hit that with some water. Yeah, that's got some nice color in there. I'm thinking if I take a cut across here and clean up this face, we should see some really nice colors on the inside. So let me do that. Let me just get this in the saw and cut across here and see what we got. Okay, let's get this in so I can cut across the face of it. You know, I was unaware until recently naming your saw was a thing. Until I watched some other people's rock videos. It's like, oh, their saws have names. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, I'm thinking Lazarus is good for this one. All the times I brought it back from the dead and how it looks like it's been murdered again. Yeah, let me clean up this face across here, and then maybe we'll try and get some slab cuts off if it doesn't look like it's too fissured to make slabs. Sometimes the rocks are just way too fissured, and when you try to slab them, they just fall apart. But maybe we can get some slabs out of this. We'll see. Okay. Yeah, Lazarus here is going to get some more upgrades soon, I think. Work on a better vise. Definitely a better way to deal with the lid. Alright. Alright, here we go. And as usual, this will take 20-30 minutes. It's a fairly wide rock. So, be back when it's done. Okay, so I got quiet. Let's see what's going on inside. Yeah, looks like we made a cut. Some pieces off. See what this face looks like. Oh, nice. I'll give you a close-up look at that with my phone. Yeah, it's got a few fractures in it. We'll try making a slab and see how it goes. I'm making a fairly thick slab, I think. So I don't know if a thin one's going to work. But yeah, I'll give you a close-up look at that with my phone before I start the saw up again. Yeah, so there's a look at the cut face of it. It's got some fissures, so I don't know what'll happen when we try to slab it. But we'll give it the old college try and see what it looks like. Okay? So let me get the saw closed and start it up. Yeah, I was afraid that might happen. There were some fissures in there, and even taking a nice thick cut, it still broke along those fissures. But still, we got a few good looking pieces here. Pull out, we'll take a look at up on the bench, and I'll move it in and see if I can get a thicker cut yet. Maybe we can get past this fissured area and get a nice slab off of it. And these little pieces, well, I'll just throw them in with my stuff to tumble. They'll look good tumbled up. They'll be pretty. Okay, let me move this in and get it cutting again, and then we'll take a look at this stuff up on the bench. Alright, I've started another nice thick slab cutting off this thing, but you know, the piece here that I got, look at the colors in there and the patterns. It's beautiful. I hope that's showing up. Wow, that's nice. And these little pieces here, they'll tumble up nice too. So we'll let that cut and we'll see what kind of a slab we get this time. Hopefully it'll come off whole. Alright, I heard a thud partway through the cut, so it might have broken on another fissure. Let's see. Oh my goodness, look at the pile we've got in there. Yeah, it broke on a lot of fissures, didn't it? Ugh. Not having too much luck with this rock. At least getting big pieces out. Alright. Another piece there. Some more little pieces for tumbling. Alright. Well, let me pull this rock out, and we'll look at it, and we'll look at what we cut off on the bench. So here's the pieces that came off. Here's the rock, the main bulk of it here. This big chunk came off too. I guess the side I started cutting on was holding it together. It's got a few more fissures in it, but hey, this is pretty on the inside. This has got a lot of nice stuff going on in there. Let's see if I can get a better look at it here. Yeah, it's got some nice colors in there. Some nice patterns. Wow. Alright. But, you know, I don't think I can get, you know, really very many slabs off of this because it's just going to fall apart. And the other, I think that's probably the pretty side right there. So I'm not sure I want to cut it like this or like this. I think we need to move on and cut something else. Well, we still got some daylight, and I know this video is getting long. So let's see if we can cut something else before we call it quits here. So I got this big pile of stuff I've cut here, and the one thing I haven't cut yet is this big honking thing. Now, I've been taking some measurements. I think I might be able to get it in the saw enough to cut this little knob off, possibly. But I had an idea. Since this looks like pretty much the same stuff, why don't I cut this first? I'm going to cut this right the long way through some of these colored bands and stuff, and we'll see if this looks good on the inside, good enough to make it worthwhile trying to get that boulder in the saw and cut it. So let's cut this first, then we'll cut that. Well, there it is. It's funny to see that little tiny rock in there when I've been cutting such big stuff all this time, but I want to see if it's really going to be worth trying to jam that big honker in there and cut that knob off the side of it. So we'll see what the inside of this looks like. So let me get the door closed and get it cut. Alrighty, let's see what we got. A lot of mist is what we got. Piece. Hey, that is not bad. That is not bad looking at all. That is some nice looking jasper. Let me pull the other half out and we'll take a look at them up on the bench and make a final decision about whether we want to cut that big honker or not. I'll get that in focus for you. Try to anyway. There we go. Beautiful. Okay, let's take a look. So yeah, That's nice. That's really nice on the inside. And this looks like a smaller chunk, let me zoom out, of this big honker over here. I mean, it looks like the same stuff. So I'm gonna try to get this in the saw to where I can cut some pieces off of this knob over here, because I don't think there's any other part of this that's small enough. I don't know, maybe this side over here, I might be able to cut some off of there. But really, it's a monster. So I think I'm going to try over here first and see if I can first get it in the saw and get a cut, and if so, what it looks like. And then I might try cutting it from some other angles. When I first saw this thing out in the prairie there in Wyoming, I thought this thing needs to be turned into a sphere, about the size of a bowling ball. But unfortunately, I don't have the equipment to make spheres, let alone ones as big as bowling balls. So I'm just going to try and take a few slabs off of the protruding edges of it and see what they look like. So let me see if I can get this in the saw. It may take a little jockeying around, so once I have it in, I'll show you what it looks like, then we'll cut it. Well, with some difficulty, I got it in. So I think we can just take a slab. Maybe I don't want to take that much of a slab. Maybe I'll back it off a little bit. I think we can take a slab off of this side. Might be able to get several slabs off if it all holds together. This is going to be a test of the 50, 60-year-old drivetrain in this thing. We'll see if it can move this big honking rock or if the gears are just going to strip. I don't know. I guess we'll find out. All right. All or nothing. Well, I can tell by the sound we're starting to cut, so that's a good thing. Let's see what we get. Okay, here we go. It's the moment of truth. So let's see what we've got. Ooh, missed. Clean my glasses. I cleaned some of the red goop out of here, but gonna have to completely change the oil and everything to get rid of it all. But I don't think I'm done cutting banded iron. Well, that's interesting. Got a lot of color around the edge, which, you know, it's colorful on the outside, but in the middle, not that colorful. Huh. Have a look at the rock face itself here. Let's see what it looks like. I'll give you a close-up look at that with my phone, and we'll look at this up on the bench. So here's the piece that just came off. See, it's very colorful on the outside, but on the inside, just around the edges. So I don't know. I mean, this thing's got color kind of all the way through, but it's a much smaller piece. But we'll take another slab off and see what it looks like, then decide. Alright. That's what that looks like. A little blander in the middle than I would like. It's like the color is just a rind on the outside. Maybe something to do with oxygen and moisture from the air interacting with it. I don't know. But I'm gonna push it in a little bit and we'll take another slab off and see what it looks like before I decide what else I might want to do with it. Okay, let's see what we've got. Ooh, a lot of mist. A lot of mist. Hey, there's a little more color in the middle of that. All right. Yeah, it's extending inwards a little bit. Take a look at that with my phone. Give you a look at it. Oh, heck, might want to take another slab off. That's... Can I get another one off? I don't know. Let's see. Crank it forward enough to get another slab off, or do I have to try and reposition the rock? That's going to be awfully thin. This doesn't seem to be fissured, but that's an awfully thin slab. I think I'd have to reposition the rock to try and get another piece. But let's take a look at this on the bench, and let's take a look at this close up, and then we'll decide what to do. There it is up close. Just got a bit more color to it. Here, down here. Still a little bland in the very middle, but somewhat colorful. Let's take a look at the edge of the slab there that's still in the saw. See if it looks like it's worth going in deeper yet. I don't know. What do you think? Do you think I'd get more color if I went in deeper, or is it just going to be bland again? I don't know. It's kind of dark down here, so everything's a little muted on the phone. Looks like we got some nice yellow over in this area, and red too. I'm going to have to reposition the rock to go in deeper. And, but yeah, I think I'll take one more slab off and see what it looks like. Just one more slab. Okay, I'm going to take one more slab off, but it's a little scary because we've gotten to the point where the rock is wider than my safety shutoff chain is long. So it looks like it will complete the cut without hitting the hub of the blade over there. But I'm going to have to be Johnny on the spot when the cut is done to shut the saw down, because my safety cutoff isn't going to work. I've had to disconnect it to get enough travel on the slide there. Yeah, so we've bypassed our safeties. Oh goodness. So we'll see what happens. But I'm going to take a nice thick slab. This is going to be the last cut on this, unless I rotate it. And I could probably cut maybe this face over here if I want to. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I'm going to have to pay attention. Starting in about 20 or 30 minutes. Actually, it'd probably take closer to 40 minutes for that wide a cut. I have to really pay attention. And when I hear the saw not making a lot of cutting noise anymore, I got to run over and shut it off. Okay, here we go. Well, I actually got a little distracted and came running out here because I could tell it was done cutting, but we did not get to the point of damaging anything, fortunately. Running with the safeties disconnected is not a good idea, kids. Don't try this at home. Yeah. I don't know. There's a little color there. It's gotten cloudy. It's a little dark over here where the saw is. I'll take this over on the bench and we'll look at it. See what we got here. Got here is a piece for tumbling, obviously. Be a little bit of a fissure in it. And I gotta remember to reconnect the safety chain before I make the next cut. Okay. We'll look this all over and decide what to do next. You know what? The colors are there. They're subtle, but they're there. I wonder what that would look like polished. You know? That might look really nice polished up. I don't know. So the water's just going to be because it's got oil all over it, but we're not going to be able to see how it would look wet, really. But, yeah, this might be some pretty slabs polished up. The color's not as vivid as along the outside up here. I mean, it almost looks like fortification agate, but it's not agate, for sure. It's jasper. But, yeah, it's kind of pretty. Let's take a look at the face of it over there, where I've cut this off, see what it looks like there. Yeah, that is very interesting looking stuff there. Very interesting. I think I'm about the limit of what I can do with this saw, though. You know, it is getting more interesting as I go deeper in, but I don't think I can really go much deeper with this saw. Not with this rock. It's just too darn big. Even with the safety shut off, eventually we'll hit the hub of the blade over there with it, so this I don't know what I can do. I can turn it and cut it on the other side. Let me think about that, though, okay? And maybe we'll end this video cutting something else while I think about what to do with this big honker, okay? So here's the big beast out of the saw. You know, it's still very heavy. The slabs I've cut off of it has just like scratched the surface. I'm looking at it here. It's very colorful down in this area, but it's also got a big fissure running through here. So I'm thinking if I try to slab it anymore, this whole section here is going to come off. Although, just like piece already came off from it. Let's see, this probably went on here, something like that. Yeah, that's how it came off. So this piece is slabbed off. This piece would slab off. So, I mean, they're pretty. They'll tumble up nice. But, yeah, I need to think about what I want to do with this. I mean, I could maybe cut this area here. Very possible I could cut that, see what it's like in there. I mean, I see some red banding through here, so we might expose some interesting stuff in here, but I think I'm going to leave that for another day. I think we're going to get away from cutting this big honker and cut something else. What do you want to cut? Pick another rock. How about this one? This is a nice rainbow petrified wood, and I'm thinking if I clean up this edge, it should look pretty good. That edge is a little more complicated to clean up. And we'll see what it looks like inside. I might want to cut it lengthwise too. But first we'll just clean up this edge and see what it looks like. Alright, I've got it in the saw. Sort of tilted it, not quite a 45-degree angle, but I want to cut parallel to the break in it on this side and clean up that edge. And if it looks really good, I can crank it straight out and get some more slabs off that side. If it doesn't look good, I'll just turn it and we'll cut it lengthwise and see how that looks. So let me get her cutting. Reconnected my safety chain so I don't have to stand here and watch it, which, well, I have trouble doing anyway. Okay, we'll see what we get. Alrighty, let's see what we've got. So we got a nice slab there. It held together reasonably well. Ooh, look at the colors. Holy moly. That is nice. That is nice. Good. Yeah, wow. Okay, we'll take a look at this up on the bench, and we'll take a look at the face of that and see what we got. Wow, will you look at the colors in that stuff? Holy cow. It's like neon. I hope it's coming through on camera. That is great. I think this is the face I want to cut. I don't think I want to cut it that way. I don't know. I mean, it might be nice that way too, but this is really nice. And it's holding together too. Look, we've got the whole rind around it. It didn't fissure apart. So maybe I'll crank it out and cut another slab and see what it looks like. Well, that's very nice. Yes, it is. Yeah, I definitely think that I'm cutting it on the right side. I don't think I want to cut it this way. I mean, it might be pretty, but the slabs that are coming off look really, really nice. So I'm probably going to have to reposition the stone, but I think I'm going to take another slab or two off of this. And rather than belabor this video, I'll just show you what they look like when they're done, okay? Well, have a look at that. I got a few nice slabs off of it. The colors are just amazing. They're like neon. That's amazing. And once I got a few nice slabs off, I did decide to cut it lengthwise. And wow, that turned out pretty good too. Yeah, look at that. So, wow, that was a pretty piece of petrified wood there. I thought it looked pretty good on the outside, and I was thinking it would look good on the inside, so this actually turned out to be a lot nicer on the inside. So that's some nice looking stuff right there. That was well worth cutting. Beautiful. Alright, so let's kind of have an overview of what I've done here. Oh my goodness, there's been a lot of cutting. Yes, there has. So this piece of petrified wood, it's okay. It's okay. It's nothing to sneeze at. It's not this piece, but hey, it's still pretty nice. I did get a lot of pieces of petrified wood that I can tumble from both these pieces as I cut them. So those will be tumbled up nice. This big boulder of jasper over here, not as pretty on the inside as I was hoping, but still, you know, it's got some stuff going on there. And polished, that might be really nice. I just gotta figure out what I would do with big slabs of this jasper polished up. I have to think about it. I'd still like to make a sphere out of it, but again, I don't have the equipment for that, so that's probably not going to happen. This over here, not near as nice as I'd hoped, unfortunately. This piece, well, I'm going to put this with my tumbling stuff, because these two pieces are going to tumble up just absolutely gorgeous. And then this, you know what, the more I look at this, the more I like it, actually. Maybe now that the oil's off of it, I can see sort of the zebra stripes on it a little better. This is some pretty rock. You know, it's not what I was expecting on the inside, but it's still a very pretty rock. And I think I might just go ahead and finish making bookends out of it. I think what I'll do is I'll glue in the pieces, I'll epoxy them in, the pieces that fell out. And then what I'll do is probably clamp the two pieces together and cut them across here, because this is kind of overhanging and top heavy, and it would expose some of the pretty inside if I did that. And then you'd have two bookends, and you'd have a pretty inside band exposed on this side. So I think I will go ahead and do that. But that's for another video. I think we've cut enough rocks for today. My goodness, I'm a sweaty mess out here. It's like 95 degrees. I've been out here at this all day with the saw. The saw is getting very hot too. I think it needs a rest. I think I need a rest. So, all right. I hope you found this rock cutting marathon kind of fun. If so, give it a like, give it a thumbs up, and subscribe to see my future videos. There will be more videos because I haven't even got in, just scratched the surface really, on the rocks I brought back. You know, most of these are rocks I found. I've got really pretty stuff I picked up in rock shops that needs to be cut too. And that stuff's going to be amazing. There's no doubt about it. It's going to be amazing. You know, this stuff's all a crapshoot when you cut it. You don't know if there's anything good inside or not. But the rock shop stuff's coming up, and that's going to be amazing. So subscribe to see those future videos. Check out my second channel, Electric Geek 64 as well. You might find some interesting stuff there if you're at all interested in electronics or retro computing. That's what's going on there all the time. And I will see you in the next video. Thanks a lot for watching this one. Bye.